everyone, my name is Bhavishya and in this lecture we will learn about router ID. So every router that participates in OSPF, they have an ID name called our router ID. Right, so everything that you see from your LSA to your Hello packets, to identify from where it is originated, for that for them we use this ID name called router ID. Right. Now, if we talk about this router ID, so it is 32 bits long IP address. Okay, and now the question is, without router ID, router can in router can run on OSPF? So the answer is no, it can't. It will throw us an error. So without router ID, we cannot perform OSPF. Now let's learn that how they are made. How? So let's suppose the very first condition. Let's suppose we have a router 1. This is my um, fast Ethernet 0/0, and this is my fast Ethernet, let's suppose 0/1. Here I haven't configured it till now. Same with here. And now if I try to enable OSPF here, so it will throw me an error because it doesn't have anything to choose for its own IP address or as router ID. So this is the very first case. Now the second case. Now the second case. Second case is when, let's suppose this is a router 1. Now here I have not configured anything on fast Ethernet 0/0, but here on fast Ethernet 0/1 I have configured one IP address, let's suppose 10.0.0.1. Right. Now by default this is going to be the router ID, right, as there is no other IP address. So this particular IP address will be assigned as router ID. So this is our second case. Now what case number? Now what this case number 3 says, let's suppose we have a router. We have IP address 11.0.0.1 here in fast Ethernet 0/0 and here in fast Ethernet 1/0 or 0/1. IP address is 10.0.0.1, let's suppose. Now in this case, our router ID will be this because it has a higher IP address as compared to this. So this will be considered as our router ID. Okay, this is our case number 3. Now, if we talk about case number 4, now in our case number 4, let's suppose we have a router, this fast Ethernet 0/0 has an IP address 11.0.0.1, let's suppose, and here it has 10.0.0.1. But here we have a special type of IP address. Let's suppose we have a loopback 0 IP address 1.1.1.1. Now in this case, this will be considered as our router ID. So if I talk about this is called as loopback IP address. What is this loopback IP address? For that, let's understand. Now, loopback IP address is a special type of IP address That is when we used to give these IP addresses. So this was basically, the default addresses, or you can say normal addresses, where we have to go and manually, type no sh. So basically we have to do it, the no shutdown for them. But when we talk about these special type of addresses, that is loopback address, so they never gets shut down. So they are always alive. And also they are virtual IP addresses. Virtual IP addresses. Right. And the specialty about this is if you want to identify loopback addresses, so they end with /32. So this is a loopback address. Now the question is how we make it, right? So as we used to make this, the procedure is same, but the command is interface loopback. Let's suppose I want to make 0. Then we will type, IP address. Let's suppose 11.11, 1.1.1.1, and then subnet mask 255.255.255.255. Now this is basically my /32. So now a loopback, a permanent loopback, not exactly permanent, we can remove it as well. So this IP address is been assigned as LO0. We can make multiple loopback, loopback 1, loopback 2, and so on, right? So now as we saw in this particular example number 4, let's take it forward. What will happen in fifth example? Okay, so here we have example number 5, router 1, 11.0.0.1, 10.0.0.1, let's suppose. And we have the loopback address. Let's suppose here we have two loopbacks. Loopback 0 within IP address 1.1.1.0. And here we have loopback 1, let's suppose 1.1.1.2. Okay, so in this case, the process, the router ID will be this because this is a higher from the previous one, right? Now, if I talk about the priority that we use to assign, by which we assign router IDs, so the priority will be, so router ID priority is the very first. We check if there is any loopback, right? If we have multiple, right, so then we will check who's the highest. If not, if we have single one, we will select it as our router ID. The second one, if let's suppose we don't have any loopback, so what we will do is we will see if there is any interface configured. If there are multiple, so we will check for the highest IP address assigned. If there is any single interface configured, we will select it as our router ID. Now let's suppose the third case is in the name of interface we don't have any, let's suppose. So our router is, let's suppose, like this, no IP configured in any interfaces. So in that condition, our OSPF will not run. It will throw us an error. Right. So this was the case, and now the most important thing is that important one that we can manually configure the router ID as well, that we will see in the further labs. So this was it. So basically this was it for this router IDs lecture. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, see you in the next one. Bye bye.